You can do it on prices. You can do it on some kind of global events. You can do it on risk parameters. You can do it on anything that happens externally to the blockchain. And there is some kind of need for a feed of data to come into the blockchain.
Hey guys, welcome back to Coordinated. So today we have one of the biggest, like biggest protocols of the EigenLayer or the biggest AVSs of EigenLayer. I think you, one who have like exploring the EigenLayer ecosystem for some time, you must have heard about this protocol. They're kind of the second largest in terms of number of restaked ETH, which I think the current market value it's like more than 10 bill. And they have also like 100 operators who are kind of running their network. And I think you guessed the name, obviously, but like it's like eOracle and like hey Matan, like welcome to Coordinated and like thanks for doing this. How are you? How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. I think in such a short span of time, with like kind of EigenLayer coming into mainnet this year, I think you guys have kind of created a solid name for you and like becoming one of the prominent protocols of EigenLayer. And I'm sure if somebody needs to tell me about 5 AVSs which are on EigenLayer, uh, your name must be coming in. So like, how is the entire feeling and how is the like entire journey of yours have been till now?
It's been quite a while. I think we might be the first team starting to build an EigenLayer even before Eigen had the testnet up and running and the public repo. We've been looking into what are the best way of utilizing this incredible trust system that we have in Ethereum proof of stake. Really from the first principle way of thinking of how can we consolidate different trust assumptions that we currently have in the space today and remove some trust assumptions by consolidating different trust frameworks that are separated from one another. I personally I'm in the space since 2016, and it's always felt like we are seeing such an incredible advancement in the execution layer and many more execution layers that are faster, better, different in many ways, and more different VM and that come with more and more ways for builders to build different types of applications and use cases in different code languages. But we still have these connectors between all of these trusted environments. And these connectors live on their own standards, which is orders of magnitude less secure and trustless than what we are expecting from the execution layers. And when I'm talking about these connectors, you can call them connectors, you can call them middlewares. In essence, they are bridges, they are oracles. They are connecting between different chains in terms of data, in terms of token transfers, and feeding this closed environments that are very deterministic and the rules are predefined and known to all, which you can trust. I think this is the reason why all of us are building in the blockchain space and not building on the Apple App Store, is that this is something that the terms and conditions cannot be changed and the ownership cannot be shifted to some kind of single authority that is extracting value. But having all of these values in mind, we still have a dependency on systems that can undermine this value in a very meaningful way. And this is where we started from. We started by thinking, okay, the Oracle problem had some solutions. Many of the solutions are just the best thing that could be built at the time, but they are external and foreign to the level of decentralization, crypto economic security, globally distributed validator set that we have today in Ethereum, the standard for Oracle is Chainlink, and Chainlink have 32 validators that did not change for years. It's the opposite of permissionless network. It's the most permission network that probably exists in all of the blockchain space today. No crypto economic security. Chainlink have great product and great tech, and they service the space for many years with multiple feeds, many different data feeds, but only one of their feeds have stake behind it, which is the ETHUSD. All of the other feeds that they provide have no stake at all, and even the ETHUSD feed have relatively small amount of capital backing these operators. Now, we have this incredible value that's sitting in Ethereum proof of stake, and we started even before EigenLayer be thinking, how will this change? How the transition from proof of work to proof of stake will allow us to tap and use this capital and use this security, not just by the capital itself, which I think that almost everyone I'm talking to about shared security and about EigenLayer mainly think about the capital, while there are two main pillars here that I think the capital is incredible, but the distributed validator set that many different entities that are not related to one another, being able to harness them is as valuable as the capital itself. So this is where we started when building on Eigen, and of course the journey have been difficult at times, like every new framework that grow and evolve along the builders. We had a lot of iterations building with Eigen from the very early days. I think we are the first AVS that launched on testnet back in 2023, in November of 2023. Honestly, that was quite of a difficult period of time for us. We are located here in Israel, and October, November was quite of a difficult time, but we still managed to do that and launch testnet and start onboarding some operators and do a lot of tests. And in April earlier this year, we've also launched on been the first AVS on mainnet alongside AltLayer, alongside Omni, alongside Lagrange, and Brevis. And of course EigenDA. And since then, EigenDA have been the AVS that had the most stake. I think we were second to it for most of the time. But I do assume things will change in the future, as we are now starting to see the evolution of the cost of capital and the risk that is correlated with capital. As up until now, stakers and operators choose to work with AVSs that just had a better onboarding experience, had a better perceived value in terms of how this AVS will evolve and how much value will I be able to capture, how easy it is to run the client of this specific AVS. And now we are moving into a new era where you actually can have a better risk framework between different AVSs. I think also AVSs using Eigen payments will probably shift a lot how capital is being allocated in our ecosystem. So that was a long answer to a short question, but hold here.
Yeah, I think whatever you mentioning, this sets up the context, and the way you kind of give us a very brief overview about the evolution of the EigenLayer ecosystem tells you that you have been in the space for a long and building stuffs on EigenLayer. And yeah, I think the one thing you mentioned that, yeah, I think last year was obviously troublesome for like you guys and all, and like still you kept building, and then like coming out of mainnet with EigenLayer and other protocols. I think great job to the entire team. Congrats for that. I think before going on about asking about eOracle in depth and a few things, like basically educating our listeners about the eOracle protocol, like we'd like to know about you a little bit. like how you kind of came into crypto and why you specifically choose the problem of Oracle to solve.
The first book I read in English was, I don't know if you're familiar with Ray Kurzweil. So Ray Kurzweil is in his late 80s today. He's one of the, to me, he's probably the person that shaped my thinking and perception of how the future would look like more than anyone else. He have multiple books, but his book about the singularity is near, which came in the early 2000. I think I was about 13 when I read that. That's really influenced much of my thinking on how the next 20 years going to look like. And when I moved to California about a decade ago, and I joined Singularity University. Singularity University is an initiative by Ray Kurzweil, by Peter Diamandis, and Elon Musk. And I did a degree while I was in high school in Israel in biotech. My parents thought it's a good idea to do so while I was in high school. I honestly, I don't know if it was such a good idea, because you basically have no social life at all, finishing high school and then going and studying in the university from the afternoon to night, and then doing it again and again. So I developed a little bit of an anti to the university traditional way of studying. So I didn't want to go to a normal degree, let's say. So I joined Singularity, and Singularity is pretty much the opposite of university as you think about it. It's mainly putting you in touch with incredible founders that have built unbelievable products and companies, and letting you learn from them directly, letting you ask them questions, having a lot of video sessions with them, some in-person sessions. So one of the first sessions I in Singularity back then was Elon Musk talking. That was back in 2014 or 15. Elon talking about how he envisioned X.com to be this global coordination platform for payments and for communication. And that was the early days of Ethereum and the entire essence of smart contracts. I don't know if you are aware of that, but even before Ethereum, there was a group that were building Lightning Network on Bitcoin as smart contracts on Bitcoin. They had a lot of struggles. There are also a lot of struggles with the SEC and with different legal like things. And Vitalik took much of that work, and things evolve into Ethereum. And I was, as a kid that is moving from Israel to California, you are now, I became friend with a lot of, people from all over the world, people from Korea, people from India, people that, and I discovered how good it is also for myself and my brain to be able to work with people that think very different than me. And this thinking about what do I want to do in life really converge into universal network that allowing us as humanity to achieve this maximum velocity of global coordination and lowering down friction in terms of, we have this today huge companies and corporations that controlling so much of the traffic, controlling so much of what can be done and cannot be done. And I think that blockchain to me was programmable blockchains were to me the opposite of that. Anyone can experiment. Anyone can build anything you can basically think of. You can deploy it. You can build in public. You can test your ideas. Maybe they are good and they're going to withstand the test of time. Maybe they are not good, and you're going to figure out very quickly why someone can break them. And to give an example, I think that like an AMM design is something that is relatively simple, and you put it out there and it's working for so long now without many changes to it. Of course, there's been an evolution in how AMMs works, but these ideas like Bitcoin, like AMM design, like many more protocols that are an innovation that allow people to trust a way of doing things where code is essentially law, fascinated me more than anything else. But as you dive deeper, you understand that for many of these things to function properly and allow more experimentation, more innovation, you do need this connectivity between the off-chain and the on-chain. So I was fascinated by Chainlink and by their approach to the Oracle problem, but after spending a lot of time in 18 and 19 into how things work, I figured that this is actually not a decentralized organization. There is no some kind of a DAO governance or even a multisig. It's actually completely centralized corporation that employ 32 validators that are all being chosen by the smartcontract.com company that choose to give them access to do these certain things. There is no transparency into where they pull data from, how they aggregate data. There is only transparency into their signatures on chain. There is transparency for that, and the updates are signed by this specific group of validators. So it's gave me some kind of a framework to say, okay, we have these things that do work. This work well in production, but it does introduce this centralized surface where if someone decide internally to do something against the rules, they can easily do that. How can we introduce the proof of stake standard into this centralized part and basically remove the middleman, allow permissionless participation, and by doing so, also vastly expand the types of data, and by doing that, the types of applications that can be built by connecting any API, any WebSocket, or any off-chain compute to the on-chain environment. And that's what led us to build the Oracle in a way that the Oracle is being built. We also didn't want to think about the Oracle as something that is owned by a company. It really came from how this can be everything Oracle, everyone's Oracle, not just the Ethereum Oracle.
I think this kind of sets up the context of the Oracle landscape and how eOracle came into the place. So I just want to share my thought on like how Oracle operates, and like I have a question along that line. So basically, the job of Oracle is to kind of bring the off-chain data on-chain. Like let's say a football match is happening, or let's say some stock market movements are there. We can't, our blockchain can't, like, don't know them actually. So there is this companies called Chainlink and this other platforms who says, hey, don't worry, we have this validator network which are kind of chosen by them. They are kind of fetching those data from some other places, and they are taking the responsibility of that. Hey, this is tamper proof. We are promising you that this data is secure, safe, and all. And companies kind of consume them in return of some money and everything. Now, what I understood what eOracle is, correct me if I'm wrong, that like, hey, like eOracle is not a company, or like they are not promising you we are going to give you a safe data or tamper-proof data. They are kind of employing or providing a platform where anybody, me or the listener, can rent out or like plug in our device or validator node, and can through the platform can collect those data and give to the protocols which kind of need in a permissionless and trustless way. Is it how the main difference of eOracle with the traditional oracles, or there's some other intricate parts which you want to highlight?
So I think you described it very well. Trustless is the ability to rely on Ethereum for both cryptoeconomic security, and the Ethereum validator set are the pillars of how I think not just oracles. I think oracles and bridges stand as the most vulnerable aspects of blockchain. Vitalik had so many different pieces of saying that in the past, and there have been multiple iterations of trying to improve this. But in essence, all of them carry some kind of an inherent risk by who are the participants that are actually doing this work. Being able to rely on the Ethereum validator set as the only system that's actually achieved escape velocity in terms of a global distributed network of unrelated, uncorrelated entities that are willing to do some work, while at the same time, it's very hard for them to coordinate. It's very hard for them to reach one another and to say, let's all do this one thing, which this is what you want from a consensus mechanism. So this is really the basic of that. These are the pillars of why this is way more secure and trusted. But I think that security is just one aspect. It's a very important aspect, but it's one aspect of what differentiates eOracle than any other solution that exists today. We want to build something that will help to improve everything I've said before in terms of global coordination, more experimentation, being able to build more things on chain. And the question of how do you do that? How we are not just providing price feeds. We are not just, fueling lending markets, derivatives market, CDPs, stable coins, and different dApps that require a price feed that are really from the DeFi era. But with that being said, I think DeFi is by far the most, the use case that found the most product market fit in crypto so far. But it's hard to imagine a world where this is where we end, right? That this is where it stops. We're going to see a lot of innovation in the coming years and new types of applications, which is probably the number one thing that people are excited about. People want to see more consumer-facing applications. People want to see more experimentation, more use cases, things that will get newcomers excited, right? Rather than seeing more forks of existing use cases on a new L2, people want to see new innovation on chain. New innovation, new applications require new types of data. And we have built the Oracle in a way that the price feed side of things is very similar to EigenDA for EigenLayer. So we are building the price feed, and we now have multiple dApps that using it in production. So just last week, Mendy Finance voted to replace Chainlink with the Oracle. Their DAO voted for that. A week before, we had Ionic Finance replacing Chainlink also on base with eOracle. 4 weeks ago, Layer Bank replaced Redstone, completely new eOracle. We are now integrating with Morpho this week. So we have more and more dApps. Next week is also Ilara Finance on Zirkit, and we are deploying now on Hemi. We are deploying on a new chain every week. And we have more and more dApps that are actually excited about using something that have these values. Now, to finalize the price feed side of things and then move back to your question of the differentiation on, as I've explained, we have this as EigenDA, but there are other types of use cases. But before we move there, I think that the future of crypto infrastructure is not just removing trust assumption and consolidating the external fragmented trust systems into the base layer itself, it's also innovating on the ownership. Ownership should not be done by some kind of a small group of VCs or team members or some kind of for-profit parties that are going to stand to make a lot of money if this solution will have adoption. I think that the future of crypto infrastructure is to actually be owned by the builders. If you think about an Oracle or a bridge that is actually owned by the dApps that use in it, you actually get a governance system that the governance is being controlled by the entities that stand to lose most if it's not going to be governed properly, and they stand to gain most from an efficient evolution and efficient decision making. So in our case, much of the emissions, much of the ongoing tokens that will be coming to the market will actually go to the hands of the builders. So you have a constant stream of EO tokens that are actually going to the builders that adopting this new standard. So if you are a dApp that's choosing to use this Oracle and you have this certain TVL and different price feeds, according to the level of activity that you are using the Oracle for, you're actually going to receive ownership in the system. But it's also going to be expected from you to have a delegate part of the DAO that is delegate and having a decision on what new feeds should be introduced, what new chains should be deployed. And I think that this is the future for both bridges and oracles. Now, to go back to the other part of your question of what differentiate besides just the price feed itself, we now have multiple teams that building unique types of oracles, like a cybersecurity oracle. I don't know how familiar you are with this part of crypto, but the crypto space have evolved from audits to an ongoing live monitoring. There are multiple companies in crypto that are not willing to just do this kind of a screenshot of an audit, and they want an ongoing live monitoring of their smart contract if something is. So if you think about almost any attack that have took place, it doesn't happen just at once. You have many different actions that are being taken place right before the attack, and then the attack itself is usually takes some time and filled by a lot of different actions. We now have different companies that's running ML models off-chain that know how to monitor that and inform protocols in real time. One of them is Hexagate. Hexagate was just acquired 2 days ago by Chainalysis. And Hexagate is building on the Oracle, a security Oracle today, which I'm not able to share a lot about it, but I can tell you that it's very interesting use case. We have more teams that building risk management oracles, prediction market oracles, which I don't know if you followed some of the recent tweets that I've shared last week, but while UMA, like I have a lot of respect for Hart and the UMA team on the fact that they've been able to innovate for so long now, one of the first dispute resolution mechanisms. You have a big problem if you're doing it with a token that is so concentrated by the hands of very few entities that can actually profit from their ability to affect the dispute resolution on a huge market like Polymarket. So it's almost uncomprehended to think that a protocol that have 300 million in market cap and the stake is much less than that. So in some cases, you have just tens of millions of dollars of stake affecting markets that are much bigger than them. even if they affect market that are at their size, the cost of corruption here is so low for the staker that if you think about a staker as a rational actor that only care, it is only profit driven, which I think that in crypto you have to assume that when you have an unknown on the other side, you have to assume they are rational actors that are driven by profit and not driven by values. Many of the systems are not stand the test of growth because as we have protocols like Polymarket that grow so much in capital and activity, they are not able to being able to support by oracles that don't have shared security, crypto economic security, trust that is backed by billions of staked it. So it such a large surface of disruption that exists today.
Cool. I think got pretty much like lots of people got like interested in that UMA versus eOracle debates, and like I saw all the tweets and all the rational tweets like what eOracle mentioned, why we need a shared security backed eOracle and like with the advantage of that. So yeah, I think also Uma team kind of backed up with their own data and everything. But yeah, I think this is kind of the space which offers you to kind of give you the open debate opportunities. Where I remember even EigenLayer and Celestia had that debate with EigenDA. What is the difference and where those can be used, and lots of key insights were derived. I think similar things also happened with like the recent eOracle versus UMA thing. Like where people can actually think, okay, where the EigenLayer, the shared security based oracles can come in. So I think we need more of this open conversation for us, the listeners and us to learn about the various aspects which the EigenLayer based protocols are doing to understand the thing. I think as we are talking about the like EigenLayer and shared security and all, I think the one key aspect which you mentioned that eOracle is a marketplace kind of thing, and I think OVS Network is kind of a part of that. Where kind of I think I when I first read that in the docs, it was like pretty interesting that okay, just like you can build anything on EigenLayer, now eOracle is also providing another platform where you can build oracles which is very specific to use case. So I think you already mentioned a few use cases, the security one and a few other ones. So have two questions that around this. So what are the use cases which you are seeing that this specialized oracles can unfold, which wasn't possible with eOracle or the general Oracle space alone? And second thing is, how will the OVS oracles will like provide value to the eOracle protocol?
If you think about that, many of these new use cases that we just use the example of prediction market can benefit a lot from having a system that is much harder to corrupt. Now, this is a dispute resolution. When you think about that, you have, first of all, the need of getting an accurate context into what happened, and then making sure that you have some kind of a way to get into an agreement on what is reality. Now, this is what is required from oracles at large. You can do it on prices, you can do it on some kind of global events, you can do it on risk parameters, you can do it on anything that happen externally to the blockchain, and there is some kind of a need for a feed of data to come into the blockchain. So the concept of oracles is ever evolving, and is evolving based on the applications that live in the blockchain space. So everything that we are seeing that is being built on Oracle today, I think this is really the first inning. In the years to come, we're going to see more and more new use cases that are really correlated to the new applications. they're being introduced. Prediction market has seen a lot of adoption recently. I think we're going to see many more types of prediction markets. Types of prediction market that will be more real-time based and will be related even to an events that happening within Twitter, within X. We are now building a feed that constantly pulling data from X has been able to bring it on chain. We are also working very closely with few teams that are building agents. Now, if you think about the entire space of agents, that agents as you require a lot of there's a flow of data that go both ways, from the off-chain to the on-chain, but also the other way around. How can you know that the specific agent has actually done what is said to do? So you don't want to trust this agent, and being able to verify all of the agent interactions on-chain and off-chain and bringing it into some kind of a trusted environment and showcasing, hey, this is the entire set of activity that this agent have been doing in the past specific period of time, is something that we are seeing already today that is very needed, especially if you expect people to invest in this agent, to buy ownership, some kind of a share of ownership in this agent. Maybe, you gain some kind of governance and you gain some kind of economic rights over the action of these agents. But how can you actually track the entire activity here? This is something that I'm seeing oracles evolving into encompassing that as well. And we are really excited about that. You can think about it in a way as some kind of a new proof of reserves or proof of earning of a new entity that is completely autonomous, that carry balances in maybe different chains. Maybe some of it is even off-chain. We have large public traded company that you probably know very well. I cannot disclose their name right now, but they will be announcing soon what they are working on with us. That they are looking to build. They are looking to introduce agents to their platform in a very interesting new way, and they need this off-chain to on-chain connectivity because much of the earning of the agents will take place on their platform. People will be able to interact with that. Much of their agents, it's going to be also optional for these agents to be tokenized or not. But then you have to rely in some trusted way. How profitable is this agent? And you have to bring this data on chain, and you have to bring some, and you need to trust this flow of data on chain. And this is exactly what oracles do. We just use the oracles to do that based on prices. What is the price of Bitcoin? What is the price of Ethereum? But we have seen in recent time more and more proof of reserves happening, especially now when we have so much of Bitcoin, right? We have so much of Bitcoin liquidity coming to different EVM chains, to different chains in general. So I think we're going to see the same action happening also in a world full of agents.
I think we got the use cases of like what eOracle kind of unlocks somebody to build. I think AVS builders and both developers who are kind of listening to this conversation will help, because honestly, many people, including me, was still kind of constricted in that landscape. Hey, Oracle can only do this, bringing off-chain data on-chain. But the kind of inputs which you shared and the entire your brain which you kind of put in through the conversation, Oracle is kind of like a huge space, and lots of innovations can be built on which a platform which Oracle is kind of providing, trusted by Ethereum, provided by EigenLayer. Like, if I sum up in one line, I think one important question I think we need to discuss, that is not the question, the important part we need to discuss mainly for the for everybody, the devs and the DJs also, because we are being nerding around for the past 40 minutes. I think when eOracle token is coming up.
Well, that's a good question. I don't know if I have the right answer for that. That's something probably to ask the Oracle Foundation. Yeah.
I think based on my observation, this is the correct time. I obviously I think you guys have something planned internal, but like I think this is the correct time because the liquidity is there. Kind of we are getting a bullish vibe. I think if we have a token, I think it might pick up the protocol and garner lots of attention from people from across the crypto space.
Well, that's definitely seemed to be something that have been working in our space for quite a while. Um, we so like many different companies in the space, like Eigen too, we have eOracle have a foundation, and we are working. I am working in the development company, which called Lightblocks Labs. We have been working on eOracle from the very early days, and we are excited to see that happen. We are very hopeful to see it happen very soon. Um, I think that we have seen many protocols launching their token before they had product out there, before they had usage, before they had real meaningful adoption to the standard, to the real new innovation they are bringing to the world. I am proud of the fact that eOracle have been able to achieve much in the past year, even before a token has been launched. I think this is much more of a healthy flow to think to take place, and provide a more stable ground for when that phase is taking place.
Cool. I think one thing since we mainly this is not a shilling show that hey we just chill the token and all. I just ask you for when the thing is coming. One thing is I when I was kind of going to the EigenLayer docs, it kind of mentioned any protocol can come up with their own security architecture where their own token or some other ERC20 token can play a part. So I have two kind of technical questions in the token front. What's the main utility of the eOracle token and kind of how it's working in tandem with the Eigen or the other ERC20 tokens in the entire protocol framework.
There is a paper by Vitalik from, I think it was 2021, that he described that the ultimate oracle should have a dual staking mechanism, where on one side you have the budget of security, and on the other side you have the cost of security, cost of corruption. So budget of security in it allowing you to have a very high security budget that is non-slashable. You're not able to punish that at all, never. But for an attacker to come in and to be able to affect the vote, he have to obtain billions in it in order to really meaningfully affect the vote. So the budget is very high. While on the other hand, you have the native token of the system, the native token of the Oracle, bless you, that the native token of the Oracle is able to really not just incentivize, but also do the small adjustments that sometimes you don't really need to punish someone because of a malicious attempt, but you do want to make sure that they are online and they are operating as they should, they are doing update as they should, and they're making sure that the system is not being affected by some kind of let's say low level of maintenance, and combining these two together, according to Vitalik, is what this ultimate design of an oracle should look like. eOracle have been following that, and this is how the oracle system has been built, and I think you will see more about that as we will have the two sides of the systems.
Awesome. I think I have many questions about the Oracle and the many questions about EigenLayer itself because you are kind of building in the from the genesis of EigenLayer. But I'll like, kind of keep the podcast till here, keep it short and crisp so that I can invite you again for picking up your brain about further conversation. So before we wrap up, so I want to know one thing: what are the immediate plans in the next 2 quarters, which we can see coming out from eOracle?
Well, two sides. We want to see more adoption. We want to see more dApps really using this new standard and taking their part of the ownership and governance of by the builder for the builder's infrastructure. This is one thing that I will continue to evolve, and we will continue to see more and more adoption of this new standard across different chains, different L2s. And in addition to that, OVSs that are expanding the AVS standard to the Oracle space, seeing more ways of bringing the off-chain to the on-chain while introducing no additional trust assumption and relying on base layer security while pushing forward the new frontier of what can be built on chain.
Awesome. I think this kind of sums up the first episode of Mene with eOracle. I'm sure we'll have more such discussions. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for coming here, Matan, and like sharing your insights and thoughts about EigenLayer, Oracle, and eOracle.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.